Morning, everyone. Please remain standing while the Mayor's chaplain offers prayers. Thank you.
Let us pray. Almighty God, as we gather today in this meeting, we ask that you will be in our midst. Help us to make decisions that will be pleasing to you. Help us to be able to discuss the matters at hand in a reasonable way and to be willing to give up having our own way. We beseech you to let this meeting be productive, and as should be the case in all areas of our lives, help us to keep you at the forefront of our minds as we do the work set before us. Amen. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that might affect the people in our communities. Continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth and for the greater glory of you and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen. Lord, the God of righteousness and truth, grant to all members of this council and all in positions of responsibility the guidance of your Spirit. May they never be motivated through love of power, desire to please, or unworthy ideals, but laying aside all private interests and prejudices, keep in mind the responsibility to seek to improve the condition of all. So may your kingdom come and your name be hallowed. Amen.
Please be seated. Thank you, Reverend, and all best wishes for a happy Christmas. Okay, there are no plans for a fire alarm test. If you hear the alarm, please leave the building by the nearest exit. Please ensure that mobile phones are switched off or on silent. There isn't anybody else here, but restrooms are located on all floors. Ask a member of staff for details should you require one. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be loaded onto the Council's YouTube channel. Can I remind all members that whilst we can disagree politically, please remain respectful to each other whilst dealing with Council business. Now, members of the public, members and officers, you're reminded that under the Openness of Local Government Bodies Regulations 2014, the press and public may film, audio, record, photograph and use social media whilst the meeting is in progress for Part 8 items only. And as long as no disruption is caused to the meeting, anyone filming is asked to focus their attention on elected members rather than other visitors. Now, I've just got a couple of announcements today. So first of all, before we begin, I would like to send my congratulations to the leader who is newly engaged. I know. Yes. So I'd like to wish him best wishes for the future. And we look forward to our wedding invite. Also, as this is the last council meeting before Sarah Threlfall, our Deputy Chief Executive, leaves to take up her appointment as Chief Executive of Ribble Valley District Council, I'd like to thank Sarah for all her work at Preston over the last 3 years. Sarah was born and raised in Preston and has worked with great skill, diligence and enthusiasm for this authority and her home city. I'm sure members will join me in thanking Sarah for her contribution to Preston, the professionalism and warmth she has shown to members, and to wish her well in her new role at Ribble Valley. As we agreed at our last meeting, the proposal to support the full Lancashire unitary option, we hope that government will support this, and by Lancaster and Ribble Valley joining with Preston as a new unitary authority, we will once again be working with Sarah in the future. I will now invite group leaders to speak if they wish to speak, please. So, Matthew, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, Sarah. From the ruling group, we want to say thank you, genuinely thank you. All of us have really appreciated the work you've done over the last few years. Was at Preston City Council. Several things. Firstly, you've been such a hard-working officer, and I recall many emails that I received sometimes around 4:50 a.m. showing the dedication of you've had to the role, and especially after juggling a a young family as well. Secondly, from our perspective, you brought a fresh new perspective to the role of Deputy Chief Executive. You've been incredibly supportive of our members, and you've delivered for us in a professional and creative manner. And instead of finding problems with issues, you've always sought solutions to resolve them. And finally, I think most importantly, we've all found you a genuinely pleasant human being, and it's been a pleasure to work with you because you've been friendly towards all of us and very popular amongst our Labour group and beyond. So goodbye from myself and goodbye from the Labour group, Sarah, and we're looking forward to seeing you hopefully on the other side in the new authority. Thank you.
Councillor Potter. Councillor Landless, please.
Yeah, throwing me a quick curveball here. I've had to suddenly wake up. Yeah, congratulations on your appointment, Sarah, to a very fine authority in Ribble Valley. I'm being an ex-Ribble Valley man myself. I wish you very much luck. 2 years has really flown by in Preston, and all it remains for me to do is thank you very much for the hard work you did, and wish you much luck in the future, and hope that we cross paths fairly soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I'd also like to wish my best wishes to Councillor Hull in his full recovery to health following his recent illness. I hope he's soon back to full fitness and his health returns as soon as possible. So our best wishes. Depending on how we progress today, I may adjourn to take a short comfort break, but we'll see how we proceed. Thank you. Yeah. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest, and can members indicate if they have any disclosable pecuniary interests or personal and prejudicial interests in the items being discussed on the agenda? Councillor Potter. Thank you, Councillor Potter. Councillor
Hi,
Van
thank you. I just wanted to say that as a registered nurse and working in general practice, obviously the ICB is involved in the funding and overseeing of general practice.
Councillor Bell. Councillor Sarwar. Councillor Dwyer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item 15, my notes of motion, personal interest due to my employment.
Thank you. I can't see any more interest. Thank you for that. Item 3 is minutes of the last meeting. So the minutes of the meetings of council held on the 23rd of October and 26th of November 2025. Are members happy that I signed the minutes for both meetings of the correct record? Thank you. Item 4 is questions from members of the public. However, there have been none submitted today. Item 5 is question cabinet members, chairs of committees and representatives of outside bodies. Members are entitled to ask a question of any cabinet member or chair of a committee within their portfolio or terms of reference. And only one supplementary question may be asked, provided it is relevant to the original question. We haven't received any written notifications or questions for members appointed to serve on outside bodies. If anyone has any questions to ask on the information items on the agenda, including special urgency decisions, they should do so at this point, as another opportunity will not be given when we reach those items. On today's agenda, the information items are 16, 17, 18 and 19, and the leader's report is item 16. So if anyone wishes to ask a question on that item, they must do so now. Right, I think I've got everybody because there are quite a few, but if I miss you out, just obviously let me know. So Councillor Iqbal first, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the last full council, the leader outlined the comprehensive new package to tackle the cost of living across Preston, including payments of up to £400 to the families affected by benefit cap. Could the leader please outline the progress up to date? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Iqbal. Obviously, we think this is one of the best things we've done as a city in the last year. So I'm pleased to report that already in the last few weeks, there's 160 households who've received between £50 and £400 at a cost of £31,000. So obviously 160 households, there'll be many large households in this, so that people being helped and potentially close to 1,000 individuals with the cost of living. We've also announced just this week our free swimming programme, which will benefit under 18s, over 65s, low-income households and adults with a disability. And the rest of the programme, including exempted council tax payments for residents who have a terminal illness, will roll out very soon. And additionally, we've heard the government decision to remove the two-child benefit cap in full from April 2026, something that we'll very much welcome on this side of the chambers. However, the issue of child poverty in Preston, like many other areas in the Northwest, is significant, and we're delighted that we're doing our bit to reduce it even further within Preston. Thank you very much, Councillor Iqbal.
Have you got a supplementary, Councillor Iqbal? Thank you. Councillor Jewell, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is on agenda item 16, which is the leader's report. And I note that at Appendix 1.14, it says that the role of the leader is to monitor the performance of his political executive. Can I ask how this is done and what is the success criteria he applies?
Obviously, it is a matter for within our political group in terms of performance. So obviously, our group do collectively monitor how we perform, but individually within cabinet reports, you will see that there's monitoring of both members and officers as well in terms of how we deliver our agenda. Additionally, there's been work we've done with the LGA around priorities and how we can work across our cabinet members to improve performance as a Labour group. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Have you got a supplementary, Councillor Jewell?
I think the question was about how he manages his executive, but I'll settle for his answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Whittam, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's a question for Councillor Rawlinson. At the October meeting, I raised a question about the Guildhall, and he said he would come back around Christmas time or this meeting with an update. I note that Blog Preston seem to have an inside track. There's reports this week that you've appointed some consultants to look at the future of the Guildhall. Can you confirm that that is the case, and what information exists in relation to the report on RAC and asbestos in that building? Thank you.
You would expect by now, we have a report on the rack. The Charter Theatre could probably be fixed fairly easily, but the main focus of the building is the Grand Hall, and the problem is extensive there and will cost a lot of money to fix. So what we did is we appointed some consultants to look at the best economic outcome for Preston, the council, people who want to go to the theatre, really, for the next, for the long term. So we're going to look at that report and then make a decision as soon as we possibly can on the long-term future of the Guildhall. Blog Preston keep coming to us and asking a lot of questions, so we tell them as much as we can, and they asked about that, and we told them I wanted to be open, completely open and accountable about the Guildhall from day one, and we are being. And as soon as we can make that big decision, we will do it.
Have you got a supplementary, Councillor Whittam? Okay, thank you. Councillor Dwyer, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And a question for the Cabinet Member for Community Safety. With Christmas dues in full swing and the city centre getting busier as we run up to the Christmas period, I just wanted to ask what support the council is giving, what extra support the council is giving to keep people safe in our nighttime economy over the Christmas period.
Yeah, so obviously with the nighttime economy sort of in full swing over the Christmas period, obviously we do obviously support a lot of the nighttime economy in terms of they've got a radio that they all have connections with, obviously connected to the hub in Blackburn as well. And our nighttime safety officers as well do a lot of work making sure that that people going out are safe drinking. I know that me and Councillor Kelly went out with our nighttime safety officers, and on particularly busy nights, so around say bank holidays and obviously around the Christmas period, what this council does is we spend about £1,000 on a first aid ambulance that you might see opposite the Miller Arcade. And that's there for those sort of big nights, as I say, bank holidays over the Christmas period. And it's obviously just to help those people who've had a bit too much to drink. They offer that extra sort of security as well, just to keep our residents as safe as possible, making sure people are able to go get home safe and obviously enjoy a drink responsibly. I know that when me and Councillor Kelly went out, we did see many sites because we're out until about 2:30 in the morning. So I know that when you're sober walking around at like 1 in the morning, you do see some very interesting sights. So Councillor Dwyer doing karaoke was a very interesting one. And also Peter Kelly being sober at 2 o'clock in the morning on a night out. Anyway, some sights you don't normally expect to see. But again, just to pay credit to our nighttime economy and also our safety officers that go out and make sure that we do as much as possible. Alison does a huge amount of work. She's a very hard working officer, and obviously she goes out making sure that she's in contact with all the bouncers, all the police, all the security members of the staff, and making sure those first aiders that we actually employ on those big nights out are doing the job that they're meant to be doing. So yeah, thanks for the question, Connor.
Have you got a supplementary, Councillor Dwyer? Oh, sorry, Councillor Kelly, did you want to come in?
Just a point. Obviously, some of the sites would include Freddie at 2 o'clock in the morning. But no, I mean, we're coming up to Mad Friday, and this is payday weekend, a number of other things. So there's a full contingent of support out there, including the street pastors, the doormen. The doormen all work together to make sure that people, when they're found or need support, they go through the city radio. So there's a lot that goes on all the time anyway, but particularly over this Christmas period. We sometimes have up to 2 ambulances, and it just stops people having to necessarily go up to A&E, so it reduces the burden on A&E as well, because we can get them support, and then they're right opposite the taxi rank. Then they'll be able to get taxis home. So there's a lot that's being done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Can I just check you didn't have a supplementary, did you, Councillor Dwyer?
I don't know, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Councillor Van Mierlo, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It was just really to Councillor Matthew Brown. Today is Save the Children's National Jumper Christmas Jumper Day. So I was wondering if you would support the link being sent out to councillors, so if they want to make a donation to support the charity, it'd be most welcome. Thank you.
I agree, and I'll do that straight away. Thank you.
I presume you haven't got a supplementary, Councillor Mealy. Thank you. Councillor Saxena, please.
My question is to Councillor Bailey. It's been in the papers already, but we're probably aware that the multi-use games area, the mugger as we call it, on Moanook, has been in a terrible state for a long time, has been absolutely attacked by gangs and by antisocial behaviour. And some of the residents are getting really afraid of what's happening around it. Can Councillor Bailey give me an update on how this is being dealt with? Because I do know a report has been to Cabinet on the issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Saxena. So yesterday at Cabinet, we have approved £100,000 to spend on that mugger. But going back, it's been really difficult. And I think, unfortunately, residents have been in Ribbleton been caught in the middle of this. So the mugger was owned by Lancashire County Council. But we've been continually sort of doing ongoing like day-to-day maintenance on it. It sort of went beyond repair. A lot of the young people and we sort of, I guess, destroying it little by little. And they're using a lot of the broken bricks as missiles, so it's affecting a lot of the residents nearby as well. Lancashire County Council didn't really want anything to do with it, so I know that our officers approached LCC saying, look, this is your asset. The residents here are really struggling. We need more facilities in Ribbleton for young people particularly, and can you spend some money on it? We even then offered saying, look, can we help even financing that, etc. And LCC came back and they said, oh, it could cost up to about £500,000. And, you know, for a mugger, you're thinking that's outrageous, the amount of money that will cost. Then obviously the administration changed. And so we've tried to contact the Reform Council, see if their priorities might change. They've not wanted anything to do with it either. So the report that went to Cabinet yesterday was that we're going to buy it off LCC for £1, so that asset's going to transfer to us. We're going to spend £100,000 from the play strategy on that mugger. So what LCC figure came up with about £500,000 cost. God knows where they got that from. And then the ongoing revenue about £800 for the lighting each year. I guess this highlights that this administration will try and step in just to benefit the residents. We've identified what the problem is. We've tried to do everything we can. Yes, it's been slower than we want it to be, but that's because unfortunately, I guess it's an example of two-tier system. You've got one council who don't want to spend money on it, and it's their asset. One council who does want to spend money, and it's not their asset. But eventually we've got there, and hopefully, according to our officers, we'll be able to start work on there very quickly. We've got a tenure. We've got the contract. So yeah, hopefully it's going to be built very soon. So yeah, hopefully the residents in Ribbleton will benefit from that. Thank you.
Have you got a supplementary, Councillor Saxena?
Further to that, I think you've already mentioned about the role of Lancashire County Council in this in Lancashire County Council in this issue, and can Councillor Bailey agree with me that we're getting far too many situations where the county council is avoiding spending money by passing the buck onto the district councils, and I think we've had one too many now, and I think with unitary status they could be able to do it much longer. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. I could have a go at the Tories and Reform, but it's Chris's spirit. Maybe I've made my point. I guess you know what I mean. But I mean, I think from this perspective, £100,000 to Lancashire County Council is absolutely nothing. £100,000 to a district is a lot more, and obviously it's not our responsibility. Look, at the end of the day, I think the residents don't care. They just want a mugger, don't they? And then that's what we're doing. That's what we're stepping in to do. I've had my complaint, but yeah, at least we're getting on and doing with it.
Thank you. Councillor Guise, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I think my question is to Councillor Rawlinson. A couple of meetings ago, so about 6 weeks ago now, the Planning Committee made a controversial, but I think sadly necessary decision to approve the full demolition of the Tithe Barn. I think given that the deed has to be done and that there's a safety implication involved, it would probably be as well for it to be done quickly. I noticed on the way in here today that it is still standing, so I was just wondering if we have a timescale on when that work is actually going to be done, please.
Everyone in this room knows that having planning permission to do something doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen that way. There's lots of pieces of land and buildings around here with planning permission that never happened. We all know that. But obviously we went for that because of the surveys, the structural surveys that suggest it needs to be completely demolished, despite us wanting to try and save it in some form. So the Cabinet delegated the decision on either partial or complete demolition to the director in consultation with myself. That decision has not yet been taken. I asked for some costing of shoring up a small part of that building, and it was 150,000, and that was just ground floor external walling, mainly because of the cellars. The wooden floor is rotten. The struts would have to go down into the cellars. It's a big job, and then it just makes the rest of the job harder as well because you're working around that. So if we wanted to save even more of it, the cost would rise. I don't see a lot of appetite amongst members to spend an awful lot of money on this building. So it's actually a really difficult decision. I mean, most people know my affection for public houses. So, you know, I wanted to save it as much as anyone. It is a very old building with a lot of history, that site in that area. I got an email from an author who writes books based in Preston in the 1700s. And, you know, so he's really keen to keep a building from that era still standing if we can. But the final decision's not been taken. The costs are a real barrier, as is the fact that we're moving towards reorganisation and we have lots of other big projects on the go that we're desperate to get over the line before this council possibly disappears. It's a real dilemma, but as soon as I know, everyone else will know.
Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Guise? No, thank you. Councillor Thompson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Happy Christmas going forward. I sort of mentioned that. My question is to Councillor Bailey, community safety. This is the third question you've got today, so this is be an easy one for you. It's not political, so you're all right. When I was canvassing in Ashton for the by-election, I was actually assaulted. So the police have been involved and the thing has been concluded now. So that's it. But because of that particular incident, I got to know about a thing called Operation Ford, which is a Lancashire constabulary thing to look after councillors and campaigners. And they also give councillors a briefing as well. But going forward, will you be willing to organise a briefing for all the councillors going forward on safety? Because I think it's becoming a more important issue as we go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. I think, you know, I've not been in politics as long as maybe some people have in this chamber, but I do think tensions have risen quite considerably over the past recent years. You know, obviously with the whole Brexit debate, I thought the tensions might cool off, but no, they seem to have increased. And obviously a lot of the time, those tensions when people go door knocking, people can then you know, take it out on local councils, can't they? Going out canvassing, etc. Yeah, I would obviously very much welcome a briefing. Obviously, we can have a look into that. I'm very certain that usually before every single election, candidates are always welcome to the town hall with their agents as well, and the police are normally there. and that's the opportunity for members, their agents, political parties to ask questions of the police, talk about, you know, what the safety might be, and that. I think the police are well aware of sort of political tensions out there at this moment in time. But yeah, we can absolutely contact them before that briefing if the elections go ahead in May 26, so that members are sort of satisfied and they have they're aware of what protections they have, and obviously they're aware of maybe issues they face. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to come in, Councillor Potter, on this? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Thompson? Oh, sorry. Can I just bring the leader in as well? Sorry.
Yeah, Stephen, it's a good point you raised, and I'm happy to I will work with Councillor Bailey on arranging a session, because obviously there's the safety of female members as well. But what I would say is I think all of us have a responsibility to tone down the debate. And obviously, so sorry about what happened to you personally in Ashton. I know your behaviour is generally really good, but I just see, especially at the county hall, a kind of level of debate that's very aggressive. It's very personalised. And I think we've got to move beyond that, because we don't have it in this chamber that much. But at the county hall, it's a very different situation. I know, Stephen, you're not on that, but there's a responsibility from all of us as leaders to make sure that the kind of debate we have, including with each other, is done in a way that's like, it doesn't personalise things, that is aggressive. We see too much aggressive politics and accusation and personalisation. And I go back to what Freddie said about the Brexit debate. You know, that kind of tone can lead to very serious consequences potentially. So I think we've all got to take a responsibility to sort it. So I'll work with Freddie and get something set up, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Thompson?
No, Madam Mayor, that's it. I'll just say, you know, the tensions are running right across the board, and it's not just one side or the other, I think. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Bell, please. Councillor Rawlinson, do you want to come in on this?
Just on this point, this really is a governance and elections team issue. They will know all about Operation Forward and the rules around that and the obligations. So obviously personal safety, community safety may be able to help, but in terms of election safety, that will be two other teams that need to be involved.
Thank you, Councillor Rawlinson. Councillor Bell, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And my question's for Councillor Desai. I'm sure we've all read in the press recently that some councils in the southeast of England were affected by a cyber attack quite recently. I believe at this time the investigation's ongoing, so we don't know if any personal data has been stolen. I note and welcome recent correspondence to members, and while I don't agree with the methods that we're asking for, I do agree that everyone, members, council officers, employees, need to do more on cyber security. In my kind of personal life and my profession, I'm very aware of the threats and risks and controls of cybersecurity, but I guess many of my peers might not be. So cast my eye back to 2017, which was quite a long time ago. There was a cyber attack on the NHS, and this council responded with a task and finish group, which Councillor Desai, I believe you sat on, to scrutinise the council's cyber approach, the level of risk, the controls, the measures that were in place should we get attacked in the future. So given this was 8 years ago, and you know the threat environment has absolutely changed, it's probably more persistent. Would you agree with me that we probably need to set up a similar task and finish group, which would have two opportunities? You know, it will help members learn, and also a bit of an independent assessment of the risk of the council. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. You're absolutely right. It's a very important subject, and we need to do more. And some councillors a lot more. We're on a journey to increasing our knowledge on cybersecurity, and some of us haven't even started. In terms of a task and finish group, this is a group of individuals that, and again, I go back to my previous point where some haven't even started their journey. You're asking them to sit and discuss and agree, and obviously they will be advised by those that do know the subject matter in hand. But because they've not started this journey, I would disagree with how they would follow these instructions or their comments. We really need to get on with our cybersecurity training, and I emphasize that wholeheartedly and with great priority. In terms of what the council is doing and what we need to do, we have partnership with Salford Council, where they complete audits, and the last audit was done in June of this year, which I had cited the report. They followed through with some recommendations, which we are following through with. Our cybersecurity policy or ambition was written about 12, 18 months ago, which we're following through with. And I shared with members some of the cybersecurity breaches that we've had in the past, because we spent a hell of a lot of money on our firewalls, etc. Some of the attacks were coming in from China late at night. And I think 12 months ago, we had a breach of certain officers' accounts. So we're working really hard in terms of where we need to be. And we're in consultation with the national cyber bodies. So we're very closely and very actively working with everybody. Well, just one of the most recent things that we've done, the Harris, for example, how does cybersecurity get involved with the Harris? Well, we've made sure all our camera systems haven't been sourced from China, which is government policy. And this is just one small thing that we're following through with. A lot of the things are happening on the ground, which we don't hear about, but we're please be assured that we're working really hard to be where we need to be. And fingers crossed, we haven't been hit at this moment in time. But again, I would like to emphasise our councillors need to get on with the training. I'll leave that with you. Thank you.
Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Bell? Thank you. Councillor Ward, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This question is for Councillor Brown. Many families in North and West Preston remain angered, frustrated, let down by Lancashire County Council's decision to shelve the Long Promise Cotton Secondary School. I was encouraged way back in September when Councillor Brown announced that he was backing the Lib Dem Long programme to push this school through, and that he intended to contact the Minister for Education to ask for their support to push forward a better decision. I was wondering, has that communication happened and has anything resulted from it?
The letter has been written. I plan to send it in the next couple of days. I've also sent a letter before that to Stephen Atkinson at the County Council, obviously explaining that our position always was, and this is why we signed the city deal, Ben, that if we're going to expand the city significantly, you've got to have the infrastructure. So you need the schools, you need the GP surgeries, the parks and the rest of it. So it's been a bit of a developer's dream, hasn't it? If you're a big developer, volume developer, you've done pretty well. But if you're a member of the community who needs a school, you've not done that well. So again, different days, but I would have signed a city deal if I was leader at that time, if I'd have known this was going to be the outcome. So we're just as passionate as you are in your group to resolve this issue. So the letter to Stephen's gone, and there will be a follow-up letter to Bridget Phillipson, and let's hope we get a bit of traction there. Thank you.
Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Ward?
No, thank you.
Councillor Sarwar, please. No. Councillor, well, I've got Councillor Brooks on the list, but hang on a second. Councillor Green, please.
Thank you. So bit of a, sorry, it's for Councillor Rawlinson, I believe. It's somewhat of a follow-up question from October, obviously, when I raised the issue of the markets then. Still been speaking with more traders. They've been speaking with me about how unhappy they are basically, and they don't feel anything's been done just yet. They are still obviously facing bad weather, and the coverage isn't so good for them either at the moment. I was informed they were given some umbrella style canopies, but they can't be used when the weather's too bad. So couple of days ago, it was raining really badly. They basically couldn't use them to protect from the rain. And obviously LCC are ticketing, which is what's done, but it feels like they're just really honing in there at the moment. Do we have any updates we can give the traders, and could we guarantee a return back to the original site for January, perhaps? Thank you.
So I think I've made it clear that I feel that the trading conditions at the other end for the traders are not acceptable. We had to move them because of the building site. Now that the building site is, you know, the barriers are up, it looks to me a lot safer than we thought. You know, there's quite large safety barriers that are directing the traffic around the market. There's still quite a big space there. The problem is access to that space, because they're going to be digging the pavement up there next year at some point as well on Lancaster Road. But I have asked the officers to investigate whether the traders could go back after Christmas. That is my preference, but I cannot guarantee it at this time. There are several people saying that I said they're definitely going back, and that is not what I said. It really doesn't help when you get misquoted over and over by a few people, and the local media are happy to publish those quotes when they're just not true. I said we would look into it, and we are still looking into it. It's not easy because of the access, and there are new bollards there on Lancaster Road, and that is LCC effectively. So as soon as we can announce something, we will.
Have you got a supplementary, councillor?
Yes, please. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Yeah, so obviously it's still linked to the market. Obviously we've seen the ice rink and the you know, the vendor set up in front of there sort of thing. I'm sure we've all seen how it is. The landlord of the Lancaster Gate was speaking with me the other day. I think there might have been something posted this morning about it as well. Obviously there's some, I'll be blunt, it's quite ugly fencing and things like that around the Christmas market. Obviously he said he's losing trade, it's keeping people away. You know, if you go and look, it doesn't feel so Christmassy, if I'm honest. Is there anything we're doing to resolve that, to sort of help in that general area to either A, make it a bit prettier, if you will, or certainly more Christmassy as well? Thank you.
I actually agree that the ice rink doesn't look as nice as we all thought it would, and they're having problems with the temperature. Ice rinks across the country, I believe, are having problems with the fact that it's 14 degrees in the middle of the day and the machinery can't handle it. There's not much we can do about that, and it was very difficult to see that coming. The issues with the whole compound and the nearby businesses, officers are working really hard with those businesses, and I believe there's another meeting today, so we're doing everything we can.
Councillor Brooks, please.
Oh, thank you. I've actually got two questions to two different cabinet members. So my first one is late last month, the council formalised the friendship arrangements between Preston and Hebron after a long period planning at the Harris Museum. Could the leader please describe how the day went and reiterate the motivations behind the friendship agreement?
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. Yeah, the event took place late last month. It was a very successful event. With us, we had a delegation of 16, 17 and 18-year-olds that met Madam Mayor first and then went to the Harris with Councillor Cam, the Deputy Mayor. These were young children or young adults between 16 to 18. They were from Hebron and Bethlehem. They were actually part of a peace delegation when they visited us, and they performed poems, dance and musical performance. And at the event itself, we had the former senior diplomat, Sir Vincent Feen, who I believe is a consul general to Jerusalem. The Palestinian ambassador, Dr. Hussein Zomlet, attended, and also virtually, and also the Deputy Mayor of Hebron. And the party were greeted by the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor, Naween, as I said earlier. I just want to reiterate to the Chamber that the motivation behind the friendship agreement has been purely based on principles of peace, equality, humanity and international law. I reiterate the strength of feeling we have within our community. I've never seen an international conflict where we've been contacted around one issue in my 20-odd years as a local politician. And the friendship agreement was signed and it's in place with the people. and to share knowledge of our cultures and traditions and bring our citizens closer together, sharing the values of tolerance, respect and understanding. So there's been lots of discussion about this for the last few months and even years, but I reiterate this is a completely humanitarian effort. We have a situation in our community where we've had members of our religious community reading out the names of over 20,000 children that have been killed in the concerning the situation in Gaza. And again, our motivation is to respond to that concern and do something genuinely humanitarian. And we think we've found the right balance. Thank you very much, Councillor Brooks.
Councillor Brooks, have you got a supplementary? But on your second question, I'll bring you in after Councillor McMahon. So first thing, have you got a supplementary? Thank you.
No.
No, you haven't. Councillor McMahon, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This question is for Councillor Hindle. Just wondering if you could give us an update on visitor numbers into the Harris since it's opened.
Thank you, Councillor McMahon, and thank you for that festive decoration. It's the best thing I've ever seen in here. Okay, so we've got the 8-week results from the Harris and we're absolutely overjoyed. It's had far more numbers than we expected. So, for example, on average, they've had 14,500 visitors a week, and pre-closure, that was more like 6,700. So that's obviously a success. And also the whole numbers for the whole weeks are up on what we totally like, twice as much as we expected. So that's really good. I'd like to thank the team because they've all worked really hard behind the scenes. We're also doing well in the shop and the cafe, and we hope it all continues. Okay.
Have you got a supplementary, Councillor McMahon? No. Councillor Thompson, did you want to come in on this? Thank you.
Yes, Madam Mayor, please. Yeah, I'd just like to say it's a good point, good time to actually say congratulations to the work in the Harris. I've been in the Harris a number of times. In fact, I was there last Sunday for a life drawing class, and it really is buzzing. So I think that one thing I'm happy to agree with you on that. It's wonderful. Thank you very much.
I think we're all agreed in this chamber that Harris is a fantastic asset to this city. Councillor Brooks, your second question, and then I don't have anybody else, so I think this will be the last question. Thank you.
Thank you. My next question is to Councillor Kelly. Obviously, the cold weather's really coming on now. Just can you give us an update on provision for homelessness, please?
Yeah, we initiate SWEP, which is a cold weather program of work, which comes in. But this going forward this year, we're going to have accommodation over the winter, which will be for the whole period of time between January through to April, which is something that we felt was really important. All the predictions are this is going to be a really cold winter, so we've got accommodation where we can take the people who currently can't get into the shelter because we've got capacity there into other accommodation, and also if you're ever out on a night and we're able to access sleeping bags for people and 4-season ones if they're not able to get anywhere, but wherever we can, we try and get people into the different accommodations. And I just ask you sometimes just have a wander around the city at night and just actually see the percentage of people that are sleeping rough and have conversations with them, find out what's going on in their lives, because for me, one of the I now know quite a lot and we're on first name terms, but if you treat people with respect and you treat them with compassion and empathy, then it's greatly appreciated. Often they're forgotten. We just walk past and we don't ask why, how, and where. What can we do? So you can always do more. We do have a homeless strategy, and we work with different agencies to do that. But over the winter, once the new centre will be open, we'll be able to, people will be able to go in there to a decent size. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Brooks? Thank you. I think that brings us to the end of question time. I didn't miss anybody, did I? There was quite a few then. Thank you. We'll move on. Item 6 is a report on the localised council tax support scheme. Councillor Rawlinson, are you moving this report, please?
Thank you. This is an obligation we've had since 2013, when the Conservative and Liberal Democrat coalition government cut £1 billion from council tax benefit and passed the responsibility down to councils. At that time, we were being massively cut with our funding anyway by the government, so we weren't able to fully fund this, and people on the lowest incomes in Preston were forced to pay 20% council tax, which was very difficult for all of them, in fact, and miraculously, we're about 2/3, or maybe even a bit more than that. Actually, I've actually paid it, but fortunately, last year we were able to change that for the first time since 2013, and we now have a 100% council tax support scheme for those on the lowest incomes in Preston, and that will continue. The only sort of fly in the ointment as far as this policy is concerned is that since it was written, the government have lifted the two-child benefit cap, which is fantastic, of course, but this may need tweaking due to, you know, a change in benefit rules can mean a change in rules for this, but we'll have to deal with that when we get the detail. But this is more good news for people struggling with the cost of living in Preston.
Thank you. Is that seconded, please? Councillor Brown, do you wish to speak now, Councillor Brown, or later? Thank you. Are there any amendments? No. Does anybody wish to speak on this item? No. Councillor Brown, do you wish to speak now or anything? No, thank you. Right, so can we now vote on this item, please? All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you. Item 7 is a report on the contract for the procurement of agency workers. Councillor Rawlinson, are you moving this report, please?
Thank you. This may seem like quite a routine item, but it's actually really important, quite crucial to the smooth running of services at this council. Everyone knows that this Labour group prefer to insource if at all possible, and ideally we would have staff doing this job, but the scale of it and the costs, given, you know, the council is half the size that it used to be since 2010, this is a really good contract and a very good deal, and this company have 3,000 suppliers. You know, we couldn't possibly recreate that here at this council. We only pay them about £4,000. Obviously, they can get good deals because they've got an economy of scale, and officers don't report any issues with this contract. So we are going to propose that we renew it.
Thank you. Is that seconded, please? Councillor Brown, do you wish to speak now, Councillor Brown? Thank you. I'll just check first. Are there any amendments? No. Councillor Whittam, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, just a quick question to Councillor Rawlinson. The amount you're spending has gone up over 200,000 on over 3 years, and you've said you're committed to having permanent staff. I'm assuming that it's likely to go up again this year because there have been increases in living wage, etc. What's stopping you from getting permanent staff? I'm assuming it's because you're not paying enough.
Councillor Bailey, do you want to come in first, and then I'll bring Councillor Rawlinson back in? Thank you.
Yeah, I guess maybe just to help answer that question as well, because obviously a lot of the agency staff are part of the neighbourhood services. You know, I would say that we do pay our staff very, very good wages. They have really, really good working conditions. So I don't think the issue is about not being able to get permanent staff because of, say, low wages or bad working conditions at all. I think particularly people who work on street scenes, parks, and our bin collectors, I think they really do have sort of good paying conditions. And I think if you talk to a lot of them, we do prefer obviously having permanent members of staff. But the reason why we have to employ agencies is if people call in sick, that might be short-term sickness, and you know, other things along those lines. At the end of the day, residents need their bins collecting, they need their parks cutting, and they obviously need as well flights of bin and other things in terms of the street scene taken care of. And that's why we have to use the agencies. I don't think it's a problem with long-term sort of retention or employment. I think it's more that it's regarding the sickness. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jewell, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do acknowledge everything that both Councillor Rawlinson has said in terms of the desire of this council, of this administration, to take council staff and have that permanent. And we all do see the need for agency staff. You do have fluctuations in that demand. But my question is, we make an observation that over the last 2 years, the cost of agency staff has increased by something like 31, 32%. And last year it was something about like 8%. Okay, so I guess the high value from a couple of years ago was all related to COVID. So, you know, there's an explanation behind that. Looking forward, we have obviously got the local government reorganisation going ahead. And my question is around, can we anticipate that there will actually be further increases in the cost of agency staff? And the reason I ask that is because clearly when you get a contract for, when we're trying to recruit in these final year or two of Preston City Council transitioning to a unitary authority, you may not actually be able to attract people, not because of the salary, I agree as well, but because the term of the contract we will be able to offer wouldn't be as long. Maybe you could just sort of say something in terms of our anticipation of increased utilisation of agency staff for that reason. Thank you.
I've got Councillor Peake going to speak next, and then I'll bring you back in, Councillor Rawlinson, once we finish with the questions. Councillor Peake, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is a very simple one. This authority will not exist in about 2.5 years' time, yet you want to enter into a 4-year contract. Why 4 years?
Thank you. Have we got any other people who wish to speak? Any other members? No, thank you. Councillor Rawlinson, I'll bring you back in, please, to reply.
So I'll answer the last question first. We get these through a framework and we get the best deal, and that's the best deal. Doesn't really affect, LGR doesn't really affect it because, you know, there's going to be loads of contracts and loads of different arrangements going into the new authority that they'll have to figure out and sort out which ones they need and which ones they can merge. And if there's a long contract the new council needs to get out of, they'll probably try and get out of it. You know, contracts are contracts, but there are ways of you know, changing those sometimes. So LGR doesn't really affect the contract. All the agency staff get the living wage. Obviously, we're committed to that. We've been paying it since 2007. Which is an incredibly long time now, way before most even worried about that kind of thing. And that went through with votes from half the Liberal Democrat group at the time. That was what carried it through. So we're very proud of that policy, of course. Councillor Whittam asked about recruitment issues, basically, and that is a very big subject. A lot of agency staff are sort of on the operational services, you know, bin men and parks and things, street cleaning, things like that. You do have high sickness because of manual labour, and you do have fluctuations. And but it's not all those services. We've got agency staff in the more, you know, white collar professional jobs as well now because of recruitment difficulties in those areas. So it's a very big question with an awful lot of answers, an awful lot of detail to it, and it's difficult to build that into this. And in terms of the cost, everything's rocketed, hasn't it? The cost of everything's gone up. So the cost of this goes up. Whether we're likely to need more agency staff because of LGR or any other reason for that matter is really difficult to predict. Officers are very aware that we'd rather have permanent staff. They're looking at all sorts of things to try and recruit better, recruiting more younger people, graduates and apprentices, so that we can grow our own, which seems strange if we're not going to be here in 2 years, but it's still the best answer to this, is to train more people. That's the best answer across the country for everyone. Train more people. People who are here and need a good job, give them a good job. That's the best answer, and we're doing as much of that as we can. But despite all that, we still do need to do this.
Thank you. Can we now move to the vote on this item, please? All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Any abstentions? Anyone against? I don't think so. I think that was unanimous. Thank you. That's carried. Item 8 is a report on the mid-year Treasury Management Monitoring Report 2025-26. Councillor Rawlinson, are you moving this report, please?
Yes, thank you. We are still borrowing internally from our own reserves, which is the most cost-effective way of doing that, even for the huge Animate scheme. That could change, of course, if reserves go down. We may need to borrow externally, but at the moment we're not. Return on investment is around 4%, which is very, very good if you think about the last 10, 15 years. And obviously that's also benefiting our finances. There is no opportunity to reduce our existing external borrowing. There are penalties attached to those repayments, so we're kind of stuck with those, even though, you know, we've got good reserves and could actually pay some borrowing off, but it's not cost effective to do that at the moment. But it's a relatively good position overall.
Thank you. Is that seconded, please? Councillor Brown, thank you. Are there any amendments on this item? Does anybody wish to speak on this item? Councillor Jewell, please.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. I don't intend to keep speaking on every item, but it's one of understanding, really. So I'm particularly looking at page 68, section 1.10, in which you say the council manages its exposures and aims for an average credit rating of A-, okay, for its investment portfolio. What it doesn't say is what the variance around that is. And what I'm not entirely absolutely clear about is what would be the consequence of a higher average credit rating. I'm not sure if it's a question for here or maybe a more detailed question outside of this chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Jewell. Does anybody else wish to speak on this item before I bring Councillor Rawlinson back? No. Councillor Rawlinson, do you want to come back on that one, please? Thank you.
The safer you want your investments, the less return you're going to get. But we tend to invest mostly. We do some internal management of investments and reserves, but mostly we take advice from external advisors, and they will tell us whether they feel it's safe to go for, you know, A-rated rather than AAA rated. And that's how we manage it. It's through very trusted external advice, some internal management, and yeah, the safer you go, the lower your return, without a doubt. So you find a balance.
Thank you. Can we now move to the vote on this item, please? All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anybody against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you. Item 9 is a report on the review of honorary alderman procedures. Councillor Rawlinson, will you be moving this report, please?
So this has come from a cross-party committee, and this group are going to support the recommendation.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Brown, thank you. Do you wish to speak?
Very briefly, Madam Mayor, yeah, there was some cross-party discussions and we're happy to support reducing the service to 12 years with obviously the caveat that there has to be some exceptional performance to become an alderman, because obviously the council is coming to an end. We cannot be sure with the new authority how these honours will, be applied from 28 onwards or 27 onwards. So there are many members, former members, who are not in the best health across all parties that we think should be honoured in the time we have left. So happy to support this, Madam Mayor, and I think it's a good thing to honour those who've had a decent service. And I think 15 years is probably a little excessive and always has been. And I think 12 years is an appropriate set of years. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Are there any amendments? Does anybody else wish to speak on this item? No, can we go to the vote then, please? All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? No, that's carried. Thank you. Item 10 is our report on the political balance review. Councillor Rawlinson, will you be moving this report, please?
I'm just going to move it, Chair. I've got nothing to say, really.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Brown, thank you. Are there any amendments? Does anybody wish to speak on this? Councillor Henshaw, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. So some of you may remember from last time we discussed this, I wasn't particularly happy that gender balance is not taken into consideration at all, because we don't have to. It's not in our constitution and we don't have to. So going forward, first of all, I'm probably going to abstain on this because I think we should be looking at gender balance. So I was taken off planning committee and a Lib Dem was put on. I don't have a problem with that at all, but what I did have a problem with was we've now got one of the biggest committees is 9 men and 2 women. So if you look at the makeup of the members of the council, 33% are women. And yet the 2 biggest committees, the women only take up 15% of licensing and 18% of planning. So with this in mind, I think the current system really does need to start looking at gender balance, and I think we need to put it into the constitution, especially when we're rounding up or rounding down. So it was less than half a person meant we got an extra man on planning committee, sorry. And now I can see that there's plenty of rounding up and rounding down going on at the moment. We've got, for instance, if I can understand my notes here, the Conservatives, I can't remember my notes. I don't do, yes I can, I wrote it out, sorry. I don't do numbers. I have children to do numbers for me. I've got 2 mathematicians in the family who teach me all the time. Okay, so Labour on the committees are actually underrepresented by half a person. The Lib Dems are now underrepresented by half a person. The Conservatives are overrepresented by 0.3 of a person. And then all of us 3 single group members, we're overrepresented by 0.38 of a person. So we have to look at rounding up and rounding down. And I really think we should include gender balance as part of that. And so because of that, I'm going to abstain on this, I think. But I would like next year us to properly look at gender balance in our committees. Thanks.
I understand that we can't look at gender balance and we're looking at political balance. It's up to your groups to appoint members to committees, and that has been their choice. Councillor Bell, did you want to comment on this one? Right, okay. Do you want to come back, Councillor Henshaw?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor, if you don't mind. I just think we're a progressive council, aren't we? And yes, it's up to the political leaders, the group leaders. However, none of these committees are whipped.
there's no decisions that are whipped, and we're all adults. We've all got our, you know, our own minds, haven't we? And I just think gender balance needs to play a bit more of a part than it already does. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Henshaw. Councillor Rawlinson, do you want to come back in, please?
It's a really good point, but I mean, don't ask me to explain the formula. Might need Stephen Hawking for that, but if it went for a gender balance as things stand, the 2 female Liberal Democrats and the 1 female Conservative and Reform are really struggling. They would have to be on virtually every committee. That's it can't. It's not doable, is it? Obviously, we have a higher percentage of female councillors, but again, that still puts more pressure on those to do more jobs to get a gender balance. The general gender balance in politics is the problem, not the formula or our groups. It's the general. I mean, I know, you know, the Welsh Assembly got to 50%, I think, and there's way more women now in Parliament, but there's still a massive underrepresentation of females across all sorts of elected and quasi, you know, statutory bodies across the country, and it's something that still needs addressing.
Thank you, Councillor Rawlinson. Can we now vote on this item, please? All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anybody against? Any abstentions? 1 abstention. Thank you. That's carried. Item 11 is a report on the Pay Policy Statement 2025. Councillor Rawlinson, will you be moving this report, please?
I'm nearly done for the day, so don't worry. But this is another obligation from the coalition government days when the government wanted to embarrass councils by making them publish the very highly paid chief exec salaries. Obviously, with years of government cuts and restructuring, we've took that opportunity to keep costs down. As said before, we also pay the living wage, so that pay ratio between the highest and lowest paid in Preston Council is astonishingly low, less than 5 to 1. It's incredible, and the recommendation is that it should be under 20 to 1, and we're less than 5 to 1. It's an incredible thing, and that's due to our commitment to the living wage and to keeping costs down, and all the things we've done over the years with the savings drives that we've had, 3 major savings drives in the 2010s, and that has now put us in a much better financial position. Most other councils are still making cuts to their budgets this year, and we won't be. We'll be spending money, so we should be really proud of that.
Thank you. Is that seconded, please? Councillor Brown, thank you. Are there any amendments to this item? Does anybody wish to speak on this item? No. So then can we move to the vote, please? All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anybody against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you. Item 12 is a report on the calendar of meetings for 26-27. Councillor Rawlinson, will you be moving this report, please?
Yes, I'm hoping it's non-controversial. One of the main changes is the removal of August Council, which obviously has been difficult in the past for many members, with it being the summer holidays.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Brown, thank you. Anybody wish to speak? Councillor Jewell, please.
So we're on the calendar of meetings, yeah? So Madam Mayor, I just want to make one observation that our annual council meeting, which will be on the 21st of May, as far as my calendar is concerned, will clash with the Lancashire County Council AGM as well, just to make that observation.
Thank you. The officers have made a note of that, I think. We do liaise with the county council, so we may have to change the time a bit like today, to be fair, because this is at 10 due to originally a county council meeting being this afternoon. Nobody else wishes to speak. Can we now all vote on this item, please? All those in favour? Thank you. Anybody against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you. Item 13 is notification of changes to the membership of committees. Are there any changes to be reported? I will ask leaders to confirm their appointments because we've just gone through political balance, please. Thank you.
Yeah, based around political balance, we've also been made aware of a constitutional matter regarding the Crime and Disorder Committee as well. So in terms of crime and disorder, Councillor Afzal and Councillor Coupland will be removed from the Crime and Disorder Committee. And on will go Councillor Akhtar, in addition to the 4 members that we have. Off overviewing scrutiny will be Councillor Khan. Off the Guild Committee will be Councillor Dreyer, and on the Guild Committee will be Councillor Saxena. And there's also been a change in the lead member for mental health position, so Councillor Brooks will retire from that and Councillor Dreyer will return to that role. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Anything from you, Councillor Potter? Thank you. Any other changes? Councillor Landless, anybody else? Thank you.
I think it wasn't mentioned at the last full council meeting that chief officer recruitment would be your good self, Madam Mayor. I didn't think I mentioned it at the last meeting.
Thank you for that, Councillor Landless. Councillor Landless, you also need to appoint a substitute for the Jack Committee, please. Thank you.
I'll nominate Councillor Maxwell Green. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Right, we're now up to item 14, which is a notice of motion on cuts to NHS continuing healthcare funding in Lancashire. Councillor Akhtar, will you be moving this motion, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members. Thank you for the opportunity for bringing forward this motion, which is about safeguarding Preston's most vulnerable residents at times of care when they are in greatest need of clinical care. We all know that the NHS is under significant pressure. We all know that our families in our communities are struggling with the financial cost and burdens of the cost of living crisis. But this motion comes directly as a consequence of a concern that was raised with me by a Plungington resident, where someone with a life-limiting condition struggles to access a specific NHS service called the NHS Continuing Healthcare support. When a second concern was raised by a different resident, I took to making a freedom of information request to try and understand if this was very specific or narrowed sort of issues with specific individuals, or whether there was a wider pattern. And the results were actually quite concerning to me, and you'll see those in the motion that's been put to you. The FOI showed that CHC has access to CHC funding has tightened significantly over the last few years across Lancashire and South Cumbria. That's the footprint, the NHS footprint that we are part of. Initial assessment rates have fallen from 88% to 72%. Approval rates after full assessment have effectively collapsed from 34% to 18%. And the appeals process, which is what is meant to be the safeguard for individuals, is effectively non-existent, because now those rates have dropped from 45% to 12%, meaning that you're almost unlikely to get the initial decision overturned. These aren't routine fluctuations. They point to a systemic restriction of a statutory NHS provision entitlement for people with the highest levels of need. I don't bring this motion to us lightly. I did make the effort once I got the FOI information back in September. I reached out to the Integrated Care Board, which governs for Lancashire South Cumbria. I met with the chief executive and the chief nurse, trying to understand what they thought was going on, what the picture was revealing to them. The answers, I'm afraid, were pretty bleak. What we've understood now is that Lancashire South Cumbria faces a £350 million deficit, financial deficit, and they're operating under very strict NHS England financial controls. I think there was an article in the LEP last week which talked about NHS England potentially sacking some of our local NHS leaders if they didn't manage to get those finances under control. The ICB's own board papers explicitly refer to needing to reduce non-mandatory expenditure and strict management of demand-led budgets. When these financial pressures intensify and CHC approvals fall simultaneously, it's hard really to maintain confidence that the CHC decisions that are being made are solely being done on clinical need. If budget containment is influencing eligibility, that is both unlawful and unethical. The consequences for our residents in Preston are profound. People with advanced dementia, neurological conditions, severe mental health needs and end-of-life requirements often cannot advocate for themselves when acutely unwell. Yet the data shows that they're diverted from NHS-funded care into means-tested social care, or left waiting on NHS waiting lists for specialist services. What this also means for us as a local authority and across Lancashire, other local authorities, is that the costs are also transferred from the NHS onto overstretched local authorities. They're transferred onto families already living on the financial edge, and they're transferred onto unpaid carers who are already shouldering enormous responsibilities. It also contributes to delayed hospital discharges and longer wait times for community-based care, exactly the inefficiencies that integrated care boards and systems were created to prevent. Further still, my FOI exposes that when I asked about equality data and you know what they were monitoring, I laugh because I mean it's breathtaking that one can break the law so flagrantly and not really care. But they said they didn't collect the data. Well, that is a requirement under the public sector equality duty of all local authorities and public bodies, including the NHS. The fact that they simply weren't doing it, aren't doing it, and didn't seem too concerned is really a matter of great concern to me personally, but I think also to us as a council and to our communities, because what it means is if you're not monitoring who's accessing or not able to access your care, is that you can't tackle the health inequality that evidently exists within the system.
Sorry to interrupt, Councillor Actor. You've got a minute left just to give
No
you that
problems, I'm
warning.
almost
Thank
done.
you.
So, colleagues, this motion, this council has a responsibility to challenge this trajectory. The motion before you is measured, it's proportionate, and it's grounded in good governance that I would hope and expect would already be in place, but clearly isn't. It asks the ICB to provide assurances that CHC decisions are based on clinical need. It calls on quarterly publication of CHC applications, approvals and appeals and equality data to improve transparency. And it seeks a joint review of the impact on adult social care budgets for carers and patients. These aren't radical demands. They're simply the minimum standards of accountability and fairness that our residents deserve. If we don't act, if we fail to follow up, the most vulnerable in our communities will be quietly and invisibly denied essential NHS-funded care because of system deficit caused by system deficits that they didn't create. And there are real-life consequences. The individual I touched on who first raised this concern sadly passed away before their appeal could be heard. That's the reality that we have to contend with. We need to act, and this motion, I hope, will take some way to getting some answers. Please support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Actar. Before I bring Councillor Close in, who I understand is seconding the item, just to remind members that if you're sat in a seat that isn't your seat, it doesn't come up with your name. So it just says Councillor. So that's not a seat that's allocated to anybody. But if you want to move, Councillor Actar,
Caught out.
when you get
I'll move now.
That's absolutely fine because it's on. It'll be on the YouTube forever with just Councillor on there. Councillor Close, are you seconding this notice of motion, please?
I am, thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I just ask, are you okay if I sit? I am too tall and my back is too painful for the microphones. So,
Of course, yeah,
thank
of
you.
course you can.
Yeah, can't do anything about my height, unfortunately. I'd like to thank Councillor Akhtar for bringing this motion and for you allowing me to second it. I did have some notes prepared, but in my usual style, I have decided not to use them. I think Councillor Akhtar has explained the situation really well, but I just wanted to add just a couple of things. So firstly, what people may not know is just how difficult it is to actually get into the process of continuing healthcare funding. So I have personal experience of doing this with a family member, and I work in the sector, and it still took 12 months to get that assessment. And on my research and my understanding, this individual was absolutely eligible for continuing healthcare, but didn't get it. I've also supported a number of residents, Brookfield residents, who, in my opinion, met the criteria and were eligible for continuing healthcare funding and didn't get it. And the appeal took so long that, again, people had passed away. Were those decisions fair and equitable? I don't know. But if the data isn't published, we will never know. So I would like to support this motion. I think it's absolutely right that we have that accountability, and I would ask my colleagues to support it too. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Close. I'm not aware of any amendments. Does anybody else wish to speak on this notice of motion, please? No? I don't think you have anything to sum up really then, Councillor Akhtar, I don't think, unless you want to say anything else. Dan, please, sorry, thank you.
Officially, I'm back in my seat, so I'll just I'll have that recorded. Thank you.
Right, can we now vote on this item, this notice of motion, please? All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? No, that notice of motion is carried, Councillor Akhtar, thank you. Item 15 is a notice of motion on extension of the franchise. Councillor Dwyer, will you be moving this motion, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I will be. Firstly, so I don't intend on rereading the motion. It's in front of you and hopefully members have had a chance to read it. Firstly, I'll start by recognising in this chamber the advocacy and campaigning efforts of the Migrant Democracy Project. They've supported me in bringing forward this motion and they work tirelessly across the country to empower migrant communities. Ultimately, this is a motion devoted to strengthening and deepening democracy, with this chamber being the very heart of local democracy in Preston itself. However, despite this, we see low turnout and the outright exclusion from participation in our local democracy for some people. As you will see in the motion, 1,425 people resident in Preston currently do not have the right to vote for councillors to this chamber. And the decisions and policies we enact in this place have an impact upon all residents, citizen or otherwise, and yet some cannot have their say, and this can't be right. The solution is residency-based voting rights, which is what this motion entails. It's neither a radical nor a new idea. If we look to New Zealand, they allow all permanent residents to vote in national elections after 1 year of residency in the country, and have done so since 1975. Sweden, Denmark, Norway and our neighbours over in Ireland all permit non-citizens the right to vote in local, county or regional elections after a set period of residency in their countries, introducing these rules in the 70s and 60s respectively. And it's no coincidence that according to the Economist Intelligence Unit's World Democracy Index, that each of the countries I've just mentioned rank consistently among the strongest democracies in the world, far higher than the UK. Closer to home, of course, in Scotland and Wales, we also see recently introduced residency voting rights for their local and devolved elections. In the UK, we have an
incredibly convoluted, complicated voter eligibility system, which was further compounded by Brexit. Following the disastrous vote to leave the EU, we saw that over 170,000 EU citizens residents here in the UK had their right to vote in local elections removed. And the complexity of both our voter eligibility, but also our voter registration system, means that among the remaining eligible EU and Commonwealth citizens resident here who may vote in local elections, only about 2/3 across the entire country are actually registered to do so. And this is unsurprising, given that little in our system eases or encourages engagement. This is on top of course, those 1,425 people in Preston who are eligible but do not have the right to vote. Now, it's welcome that this government is committed to deepening our democracy, both through an unflinching commitment to enfranchising 16 and 17-year-olds, welcome an overdue policy, to enhancing devolution opportunities, and with practical constitutional steps such as automatic voter enrolment, which should be coming by the end of this Parliament. Just going back to the point of 16 and 17-year-olds, though, I will remember that when I was 16, I lobbied the leader of this council, still the same leader today, for the council to back a motion on that at that time, and it did pass. So unfortunately, it ages me to say that was over a decade ago. With a government committed to constitutional reform, rebuilding trust in democratic process in our country, this is now the chance in which we can demand more to truly deepen and enhance our democracy in line with our values. Democracy ultimately works best when it is inclusive for all in which it serves, and all those who call the UK their home have a vested political and social interest in how their communities, our community, and our country are governed. The UK's democracy needs to remain fit for purpose, and as our communities and societies change, it's important that our democracy is able to change and reflect those changing needs and systems. This motion is ultimately a question of fairness, equality, and fundamental democratic principles. The very same arguments that have been made throughout British democratic history with regard to the franchise, the same arguments that were made for the rights of working men, and then of women, and then of younger citizens as the franchise has been extended. In the spirit of standing up for the democratic rights of residents here in Preston, the very reason in which all of us across the chamber ought to be here, I urge all of you to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dwyer. Councillor Nuffer, are you seconding this notice of motion? Do
Yes, I will.
you want to speak now or at the end? At the end?
I'm reserving my.
Thank you. Are there any amendments to this notice of motion? No. Does anybody wish to speak? Councillor Thompson, I saw your hand go up first, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, well, I can't support this notice of motion. No surprise there. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry about this when I read it, but anyway, the idea that people can vote for the country that they're living in and the community they're living in, it's part of the identity of that community, it's part of national identity, and it has to be earned. So when you say people can't vote, they probably can't vote because maybe they're not a national, they're not a citizen or whatever. They might be working on contract here. I've worked abroad in many countries and never had a vote. It didn't really bother me. But this is about restoring trust in democracy is one of the things that one of the little things that you've written here. And our democracy is, the confidence in it is because of things like this. We are not separating out who's invested in this country. Now, if you say, well, people will come into the country, then they've got time to earn it. My wife has only just become able to vote last year because she had leave to remain and she's now a British citizen. So I think people have to earn the right to vote. And I just find that this idea that everybody who comes here should actually have a vote a bit strange. And I know you're talking about our tradition of democracy, but our tradition of democracy has been bound up with our national and community identity. So I don't think it's any problem at all for people to have to wait a little while before they actually qualify to vote. If you were employing an electrician, you wouldn't say, well, coming in, you can get to work on the house electrics and he says, well, I'm not qualified yet, but I'll have a go. You'd say, no, thank you. You're not. I want you to be a qualified electrician. So I think this notice of motion, I can't agree with it, because I think, you know, there are some things in life that you just have to earn. And I think the right to vote is one of those things. So I can't support this, but thank you for bringing the motion.
Councillor Peake, please.
You wish to restore, or the Labour government agenda is to restore trust in our democracy. And part of that is because you want the same rights for foreign national residents, long-term residents in England, to have the same rights as those in Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland. People who vote, whoever their origins are, people who vote in local elections in Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales do so under proportional representation. I'm surprised that you haven't added a little bit of proportional representation for England in that, particularly as this council voted to support PR in the past.
Thank you. Councillor Jewell, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do just want to make reference to Councillor Thompson's comment about qualifications of plumbers and engineers. Unlike nurses and doctors and everyone else, they do need qualifications, but quite clearly politicians do not need any qualifications. But my point is a slightly more serious one, in that I'm fully supportive of this notice of motion on the simple premise: if you pay your taxes, you can vote. Symbols.
Councillor Potter, please. I don't see anybody else wishing to speak. Councillor Nather, as the seconder, you reserved your right to speak. Would you like to come back in before I hand it back to Councillor Dwyer to sum up?
No, I'm okay, thanks. People have said good things, and I was expecting Councillor Thompson to come back with some negative.
Thank you, Councillor Nather. Councillor Dwyer, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll keep this as brief as possible. I thank Councillor Peake, Jewell and Potter for the supportive comments. Just to address Councillor Peake's argument, I was thoroughly expecting you to mention this. I do appreciate where it comes from. I know that we've had lengthy discussions on this in the past. So I can appreciate the well-meaning intentions, of course, reform to the electoral system, as well as this to deepen and enhance democracy. I do have to stress that these calls would be out of scope for this particular motion. The matter of this motion is not about how people vote, but rather the fact that people ought to be able to vote, and to enable them to be able to vote where they're paying the way they deserve a say, just as Councillor Jewell said. And I would also rather that the government more generally focus on strengthening democracy through the constitutional reforms it has already set out, rather than spending time debating the merits or dismerits of particular voting systems. Just going back to some of Councillor Thompson's points, which again I was thoroughly expecting, as I think other members were. We understand that, look, the path to British citizenship, as he himself understands, is long and potentially getting longer, more costly and more exhaustive. Given substantial barriers, citizenship cannot be an accurate measure of one's relationship to the UK, and it should not be a barrier as to whether people can or cannot participate. in the democratic processes while they remain resident here, working, contributing, paying tax into our system and contributing to our communities in which they then do not have a say. So they ought to have that right to have a decision upon the elected bodies that represent them before citizenship may well be granted. And I would also point out, and I understand that Councillor Thompson made the point that when he has worked abroad or lived abroad, he's not had a say there. Ultimately, this policy is about our own voting system, not that of other countries. We can affect change and create a fairer, better democratic system in our own country, and through which that should be our own priority, should be our own country's system and improving that. We're respected as a leader amongst democratic nations, and by focusing our efforts on strengthening our own democracy, we can hope to influence that change elsewhere. And it is worth noting that Brits living abroad remain eligible to vote back here in Westminster, providing they're registered to do so. If you look around the world at countries who have successfully in over several decades had residency-based voting rights, many of those that I mentioned earlier, there's no evidence that it has anyway created a pull factor for migration, nor has it been proven to have been exploited in any particular way by any particular community or political movement. Sensibly, any residency-based voting right comes with its own stipulations on lengths of residency, which shows a commitment to this country and shows a commitment to its democratic principles. And it would be for the government to decide that length of residency in order to evidence that relationship and contribution to this country. So I don't quite accept the points that Councillor Thompson made. So I do hope that addresses some of the points made within the debate. I thank members for the contribution, for the support cross-party on this motion. I hope that this is able to pass. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dwyer. Can we now vote on this item, please? All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. Item 16 is the leaders' report. Councillor Brown, do you wish to speak on the report, which is for noting only? Thank you. We need to vote on this to note by show of hands. Thank you. Thank you. Vote to note. Thank you very much. Item 17 is special urgency decisions. However, there are none to report at this meeting. Item 18 is the date of the next meeting. The ordinary council meeting will take place on Thursday, the 29th. I'm hoping reading this without my glasses, at 2 p.m. at the Town Hall, Preston. Thank you. Now, item 19 is exclusion of the public and press. So now we need to consider passing the following resolution: that the public be excluded from this meeting during consideration of the following items of business on the grounds that there is likely to be disclosure of exempt information which is described in the paragraphs of Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972, which is specified against the heading to each item, and that in all the circumstances of the case, the public interest in maintaining the exception outweighs the public interest in disclosing it. Are you all happy to agree the exemption and move to Part B, please? Yep, all agreed. Would